Military Appreciation Night in the JMA Wireless Dome. The Syracuse Orange hosts the Canisius Golden Griffins. Happy Veterans Day. Riley Underwood alongside my co-pilot Drew Alba. And Drew, so far Syracuse off to a hot 2-0 start. They've looked good so far.
A chance to go 3-0 for the 7th time in the last 11 years, and it's been nothing short of dominant. A big win against Stony Brook to open the season, and then a massive defensive performance for Syracuse in a victory over UAlbany last Friday night.
So how about we check out what happened in the Albany game against the Great Danes? And let me tell you, it was all orange early on. Dominic Darius started off the scoring with a nice steal and layup on the other end.
Puts her hand in the cookie jar, defense into offense, the bump off the window and in. Darius was electric, yes, offensively, but it was the defense where she showed out.
She got that quick first step badge activated, and she gets the and one to go along with it. Shai Hawkins drives to the lane, skip to Mylou. Get a little action as well for number 14. I mean, the steals were coming in bunches. Layla Felia getting in the action as well. It was just an all-around defensive performance, and they got in on the offensive boards as well.
UAlbany scored, get this, just 10 points in the first half. It's the least points in a first half under head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack for the Orange.
Colleen Mullen, the Albany coach, was not happy. Dominic Darius, 1 of 1 for three-pointers in the game. 27-10 at half. And then, it's like taking candy from a baby. That was easy. Uche Izoje steal, and then another layup from Izoje down low. Sophie Burrows had a relatively quiet game. This was her only bucket of the game, finished with 2 points. And Dominic Darius, a steal, and then Journey Thompson, and 1.
The bench came to play today, or rather last Friday night, a 32-point performance, but also the stars get in on it. Izoje, Darius, Velez, all with double digits, and the bench was feeling it.
Jasmine Cooper on that last three. The bench was all hyped up. Neither team, though, shot the ball well. Albany 25% from three. Syracuse shot 20%. The Orange are the 9th worst three-point shooting team in Division I. They're shooting 14% so far.
Eventually that's got to come around, but it's early on. Syracuse defensively made up for it, and then some. The Cuse dominant over UAlbany.
One player that doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but she doesn't have to. Uche Izoje, the paint beast, down low for the Orange. The 21-year-old freshman from Nigeria by way of Japan. She's looked solid early on, Drew.
You kind of skipped over that. Grew up in Nigeria, moved to Japan, learned Japanese, spent 7 years there, was in the Women's Japanese Basketball League, a 2-time All-Star, and said, why not come over here and try American hoops as well? And she's been nothing short of lights out. Izoje, double digits in both Stony Brook and UAlbany, and she's only played less than half the minutes available. This is a player, the sky is the limit for Izoje. She's averaging almost a point a minute against a team like Canisius, who is terrible in the paint, and I mean terrible. They allowed 44 points against Eastern Michigan in the paint. 44. Uche Izoje should feast early and often for Syracuse.
Well, that's more than Canisius scored that whole game. Izoje is very polished for a relative unknown coming into the program. One thing, though, they'd like her to step up that rebounding, 3 per game in her first 2 games. Izoje is a big presence down low, especially on the scoring, and she leads the Orange with 12.5 points per game so far. She's tied with her fellow Orange player. That's Dominique Darius, the transfer from Southern California, who actually redshirted last year, transferred to play her graduate season here at Syracuse, and she's been getting it done on both sides of the ball.
Defensively, she's been absolutely perfection. She says she prides herself on the defense. It's what she sets her tone to. And yes, the offense will come, but Darius is so hounding both on and off the ball, helps her defenders out. 5'10", lanky guard, and with UCLA rather, for 3 years. That was the secret sauce for Dominique Darius.
And she's very efficient shooting the ball as well. 4 for 4 shooting against Albany. Well, one thing you mentioned she prides herself on is her defense. Take a listen, post-game versus Albany.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, like, I've been on really good teams and defense wins championships, and so that's like the first thing I stand on. And I think I just bring the energy because I know if I set that tone, then my teammates will follow. So for me, like, I let my game be dictated by my defense. So I try to come out, be aggressive. You know, we obviously watched a lot of film, went through their sets and things like that. So I just wanted to come out with the statement, make them uncomfortable, pressure them, not let them get any easy looks, and you know, that's just really how I wanted to come out and start the game as a team and individually.
Dominique Darius has played for both high-level Los Angeles teams, started her career at UCLA before transferring to USC, now to Syracuse. The daughter of former Syracuse All-American Donovan Darius, you may remember him, the great safety for the Orange in the 90s. The Orange women's basketball, they haven't scored much this season, though, but they really haven't had to. The defense has been carrying a lot of the load.
Teams are shooting just over 40% against Syracuse, giving up the 5th fewest points in the ACC. This is a Syracuse defense that is hounding. They play full court press just over a third of the time, allowing opponents to shoot over 40%. 27 points off of turnovers with 17 steals. Syracuse's defense is going to be the thing to get them into March if that's what is in at the end of the day.
They allowed 45 points versus Albany, but honestly that's a little deceiving because the Great Danes had just 18 points entering the fourth quarter. A lot of those points came in garbage time, and then like in the Stony Brook game, the Orange allowed 50 points. So very good defensively looked the Orange early on this season. One team that needs some improvements, that's the visiting team of this game, the Golden Griffins, coming over from Canisius. We're going to preview them and all they have to offer as they come to the JMA Wireless Dome for the first time since 2014. Canisius travels 150 miles east on I-90 from Buffalo to Syracuse to take on the 2-0 Orange. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba, the opponent today, Canisius. They've really struggled this year, still searching for their first win of the season. They're 359th out of 363 in Division I for scoring per game. They're dead last in steals per game with 2. Well, they do lead the nation in one thing, though, Drew. That's turnovers, 33 per game. They have some things to work on, and they also got blown out last game versus Eastern Michigan. Let's check out how that game went. That was a home game for Canisius, and it was all Eastern Michigan early.
A home game for Canisius, but scores just 2 points in the first quarter. I'm not a mathematician, but it's pretty hard to win a game when you score 2 points in the first quarter of action.
And those 2 points were free throws. They didn't score their first field goal until midway through the second quarter. It was all Eastern Michigan all game long, except, there you go, Irene Ray Pineda sinks her first three-pointer of the game, and then it goes all the way back on the Eagle side. 2 big blocks in a row, and it was just like that for the whole rest of the game.
Eastern Michigan over 40 points in the paint. On the other end of things, just 6 points in the painted area for Canisius. Domination for Eastern Michigan. And once again, the Golden Griffins struggles in most facets. Can they turn around against Syracuse? I'm not too sure.
Canisius is shooting 26% from the field this year. They had 21 turnovers, and if you can believe it, that's an improvement. They turned the ball over 45 times in the season opener at Michigan. That's a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, 3 for 18 also from three-point land against Eastern Michigan, against Eastern Michigan rather. Against Michigan, it wasn't much better. It was a 60-point loss. This is a Canisius team that's still really trying to find their footing, and it's not going to get any easier against the 2-0 Syracuse here in the Dome.
Well, their leading scorer actually comes off the bench so far. Irene Ray Pineda from Spain, a Spain native. She's averaging about 9 points a game right now. Had 12 points. That was a career high versus Eastern Michigan, but an inefficient 3 of 11.
Yeah, 2 for 6 from 3. If you leave her open, she'll make a 3-point shot, finished with the steal as well. A career high 12 points for Ray Pineda, but this is a player that averaged only 3 points a game last year. If Dominique Darius or if Layla Feely just blankets her on the outside of the 3-point arc, doesn't play help defense, Syracuse should be able to slow her down pretty easily.
Well, she can be an energizer off the bench. She does like to shoot the ball. She was the leading scorer last game versus Eastern Michigan and for the whole season for the Golden Griffins. Well, Tiffany Swafford spoke post-game after the Eastern Michigan game. She admits they do have some room for improvement.
I think overall we showed again that we have opportunities to grow in terms of how tough we are and in terms of our ability to execute offensively. But more importantly, finish plays. Second game in a row where we're out-rebounded significantly. And I think that comes down to how much we want to be disciplined in our technique and the way that we do things. I think, kudos to Sahar. She's done a great job building that team. Did a great job when she was here. But they flat out-toughed us and out-executed us today.
Swafford also praised Felicia Leggett-Jack, the Orange head coach, in that post-game press conference. And if they improved on those things, hey, it would be a big-time upset if Canisius somehow finds a way to come into the Dome and beat Syracuse. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking to the color commentator for this game, Max Gifford. He'll answer all of our questions and more. Women's basketball season is here. Syracuse hosting Canisius in a Veterans Day clash. Inside the JMA Wireless Dome, Riley Underwood alongside Drew Albon. We'd actually like to bring in the analyst for today's game, Max Gifford. He's joining us courtside. Max, a lot of the production so far from Syracuse is coming from those newcomers, so I got to ask you, who's been your most impressive newcomer if you had to pick one so far?
Yeah, well, Riley, I have to say, it feels like at this point I could close my eyes, throw a dart at one of the newcomers, and chances are they provided something. It's been amazing how these newcomers have acclimated so well to Syracuse's system. But I think if I had to pick one, it has to be Layla Filia. I mean, we know what she did at Michigan a couple years ago, a first-team All-Big Ten teamer, but she's really been the catalyst for this Syracuse offense. Leads the team in minutes so far, and Coach Jacks really praised her for being a tone setter for this squad, especially in practice, and you've seen it so far in the 2 results so far this season.
Max, you mentioned a lot of the positives, but I want to touch on just one negative. It's really the only negative for Syracuse, shooting 13.6% from behind the arc. Does that change at all today against Canisius?
Really hard to tell, Drew, because Felicia Leggett-Jack has also mentioned that you can't make the ball just go in the hoop. Naturally, that's not how it works. Now, you can keep shooting threes and hope that eventually they go in, but in that Albany game, Syracuse got about as many open looks as you could have and still couldn't convert. But Coach Jack has mentioned it really starts with defense for this team. If this squad can really dominate defensively, then there's ample chances for this squad to get offensive opportunities, to work in transition, and to get opportunities to work beyond the arc. Will they convert more? Who knows? That's just going to come. The shots will eventually drop, I think personally, if this team just continues to play how they've been playing defensively.
There's been ample chances for Syracuse all season long and should continue today against Canisius, but will those chances go to someone off the bench that we haven't seen much out of, Max?
It's, again, really hard to tell because there have been so many different players that have been bringing production to the floor. But one player I'm looking at in particular, how about the freshman, Justice Fitzgerald, a player that Coach Jack has been praising in both of the team's press conferences so far. And she's just had very overall complete stat lines. She had 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals in Syracuse's win over Albany. I think those well-rounded stat lines could potentially pay off, even if it's not necessarily maybe the biggest point production in the world, but you still see her maybe doing the little things right and getting just every single aspect of the game, whether that is on defense, offense, or on the boards.
All right, thank you so much, Max. Have a good call.
Thank you so much, Riley.
All right, we're just about halfway through our pregame show, but we're not done just yet. We're going to be talking about a little men's basketball right after the break. Stick with us.
Stay tuned to see if you. Yes, the Central New York Chevy dealers.
Well, Syracuse sports are rolling across campus. Syracuse women's basketball hoping to keep that streak alive. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Albon, another one of those teams that's really surprising a lot of folks around the ACC. That's Syracuse men's soccer for all of that. Let's send it back to our studio with Timmy Weiss.
That's right, Riley. Syracuse men's soccer is having a whole lot of fun right now. The Orange are 7-2-1 in their last 10 and just shocked 3-seed NC State 3-0 in the ACC quarterfinals. Despite a rough start with just 2 wins in its first 8 games, SU now sits at 9-6-2. All that matters, though, is making the NCAA tournament. But before we take a look at the Cuse's odds, let's go over exactly how the field is determined. 48 teams compete for a national championship. 23 of those bids are from winning your conference, which leaves 25 at-large spots. Unless Syracuse wins the ACC title, that's where the Orange will fall under. The main selection metric is RPI. Basically, your record plus your opponent's strength. Going into Sunday, SU was 43rd in RPI, meaning a loss to NC State could have ended its season. Instead, that upset bumped the Cuse to 30, their highest mark this year. Now, the only guaranteed way in is winning the ACC championship, but with SU's form in RPI, the odds are in its favor. The next test is 7-seed SMU on Thursday, a team Syracuse beat 2-0 1 month ago. That semifinal kicks off at 8 in Cary, North Carolina. Win again, and the Orange could even host a first-round match in the NCAA tournament. No matter what, though, SU has to wait until the selection show on Monday to find out its postseason fate. Syracuse has already shocked the ACC. Who's to say the sky isn't the limit on the national stage? Riley, back to you.
Who's to say? That's the big question. Thank you, Timmy, for that report. And boy, Drew, Syracuse men's soccer, they're rolling right now. If they can beat Southern Methodist, they're in the ACC championship.
Yeah, how about that? Haven't lost since October 21st against Cornell. I was at that game, and I did not expect Syracuse to go on this type of run. You blink, and all of a sudden, 2 games away from winning the ACC. How about that?
Syracuse men's basketball, also a team that's rolling 2-0 so far this year. They beat Delaware State on Saturday, 83-43. That was just domination from start to finish.
Perfect word, dominant. All the way throughout, a 40-point victory. Syracuse handles them defensively, offensively. Donnie Freeman comes through with yet another 20-point game. He's one of just 3 players in the ACC to score 20-plus with 1 or fewer turnovers in each of the first 2 contests. And then, of course, you can't mention Syracuse men's basketball without Kyan Anthony. How about it? He's flying around off the bench in game 1. Game 2, he starts and scores double-digit points.
How about the defense, too, Drew? 43 points allowed. That's the least amount of points Syracuse has allowed since 2018. That was when they beat Eastern Washington 66-34. How do you score 34 points in a basketball game? Man, that's not a lot. That's good defense. Well, I mean, men's basketball, they're doing good so far. But we're not done talking about women's basketball just yet. We've got more coverage. We're going to get you the starting 5 right after the break. We are just moments away from tip-off. Canisius looking for its first win of the season, and Syracuse looking to stay unbeaten. Thanks for sticking with us. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into those starting lineups for Syracuse. And for the Orange, it's pretty much the same as it has been all season. Camden Nelson is running the point. They're going to have Dominique Darius at the small forward position. She can really play at the 1 through 3. And then Layla Felia, Sophie Burrows, Uche Izoje. No surprises here.
No, not at all. This is the 5 that started now all 3 games for Syracuse. Really interested to see how Sophie Burrows does in today's contest. If it's another dud, does she get the move to the bench? Who knows?
So let's talk about our players to watch. Camden Nelson, she's been really impressive. The Gatorade Player of the Year in Connecticut, playing a really nice point guard. Tell me about your players to watch.
For Canisius, I got Shariah Gales, a forward for Canisius. She's 11 for 16 from the free throw line, 9 points this season. Gales has been one of the only consistencies for this Canisius squad. She's the meat and potatoes for the Golden Griffins, and if there's an upset in the brewing, Gales is going to be a big reason why.
Well, she has 20 double-doubles in her career. That leads the team. And how about Syracuse? Who's the player to watch for the Orange?
Not a player on the starting 5, but instead the backup point guard. Give me Angelica Velez, her first career double-digit performance last week against UAlbany. And the thing I love about Velez, she can create her own shot. A hezzy pull-up, a cross hezzy, it doesn't matter. Velez can do it all, and she loves the role on her team. She was asked, what do you think about the role coming off the bench? She said, I think it's fun. I relish in it, and I'm the spark plug off the bench that head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack needs. Once again, if anyone does something and they say, I think it's fun, usually they're going to do a pretty good job at it. And Angelica Velez is going to do yet another good job today against Canisius if my money was on it.
There was a lot of hype surrounding Velez last year after she transferred from LSU, and it looks like she's pretty improved if we take anything out of these last 2 performances. Double-digit, 10 points last game, and the whole team seemed like they were on something last game.
Oh, for sure. Syracuse, another chance to go 3-0 for the 7th time in 11 years. This should be a fun one, Riley.
I'm excited, and is there anything Canisius can do to give them a chance to stop the Orange today?
Shoot the 3 ball, hope for the best, live and die from the three, but Syracuse should have a pretty easy road to victory.
A big win. Not yet in the works, but you know, you can't look too much
Who
for
knows?
it. Right now, if you look at the stats, Syracuse looking like they might be rolling this one. Happy Veterans Day from Riley Underwood, Drew Alba. Enjoy the game.
Fans, please turn your attention to the video board for a special presentation.
53-34, Syracuse up at halftime. Military Appreciation Day in the J&A Wireless Dome. Happy Veterans Day from Riley Underwood and my co-pilot Drew Alba. First reactions from this one, Cuse up by 19.
It's kind of like the Thanksgiving dinner. Everything looks good offensively for both Syracuse and Canisius. Both teams are stringing it from deep. SU on the way to over 100 points. Canisius, on the other hand, a season high in points. So really both teams offensively, it's working out.
Yeah, I think the Golden Griffins, they might have overcooked the yams a little bit. It hasn't really been working out on defense for Canisius. Let's get into the highlights, see how everything has been going. And it really started out with a Canisius lead. Franco Wittenberg getting inside the paint for two. That was surprising. Canisius, their offense is looking better than it has been in recent games, but the turnovers, they've been a problem. Uche Izoje gets the steal, swing it around. Layla Filia ends up finishing it off.
Syracuse forces 20 turnovers, a big reason why the Orange up big at the half.
Another finish inside the paint, just domination for the Orange early on. Filia, that's a little tough jumper. That's nice.
Layla Filia had that the entire first half. Drives inside, pulls up from 8 feet out, money.
And then Shariah Gales, there goes one more for you. Bang, splash, 2 in a row for number 34. She has 11 points at the break, and then Shy Hawkins, a tough finish for the lefty with the left hand. And
So
then easy.
Yes,
Easy.
it's so graceful. It's easy on both ends. Gale's my player to watch. She showed up big, but so did Dominique Darius. How about that for smooth?
Dominic Darius, 13 points at the end of 20 minutes. A little fadeaway jumper from 15 feet out. Cuse up 19 so far at the half. One thing, though, Canisius has been shooting the three ball well for a team that came into the game close to last in Division I in field goal percentage. They've shot the ball well, 5 for 8 from beyond the arc so far.
That's my key to the game going into the contest. Syracuse can't stop the trifecta. It's really the only reason why Canisius is anywhere near Syracuse right now.
A player, a transfer coming into Syracuse. She has her most points so far in an orange uniform. That's Layla Filia, 13 points right now at the break. She looks smooth, especially early on.
Oh, she's doing whatever she wants. Smooth as butter, Riley. The handoff, Layla Filia knifes inside. Just an easy pull-up from the elbow. That mid-range has been there all half long for Layla Filia, rising up over smaller defenders. Filia finishes with 13 points, an efficient 6 for 7 from the field. Had just 3 points, by the way, against UAlbany. This is a nice bounce back for Filia.
Had 12 in the opener against Stony Brook. That beats it. Today in the first half alone, 13 points for Layla Filia. 6 for 7 on the field goals.
Come on, Riley.
6 for 7 on the field goals, 2 steals, 13 points. A great first half for Layla Filia. But she hasn't been the only Orange doing it so far for Syracuse. It's also been Journey Thompson, a forward coming off the bench. In very limited minutes, she made an impact quick.
Yeah, only 4 minutes, 6 points, went 3 for 3 from the field. Journey Thompson makes it look so easy, especially on the offensive glass. Watch how she rolls to the basket, easy pull-up, and she might be listed as a forward/center, but she has some moves like a guard. Again, the pull-up jumper, automatic.
Yeah, she has a little hitch in that jumper, but it's been working early on.
Hasn't mattered,
3
Riley.
for 3. It's 4 minutes. I mean, that's just ridiculous. 2 rebounds to go along with it. You see her stats versus Albany. That was for the full game and 8 minutes of work. She's pretty efficient when she gets time on the floor.
She could be huge for the Syracuse team moving forward. Interested to see how head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack continues to fold her into this lineup.
And Syracuse has also been capitalizing off the turnovers, the mistakes from Canisius. The Golden Griffins come into today leading the NCAA Division I in turnovers per game with 33 per game. So far, they already have turned the ball over 19 times.
Wow.
Syracuse capitalizing off of it. They have 31 points off of turnovers so far.
And Canisius forced Syracuse to just 5 turnovers. That's really been the story in this one. SU speeding up the game as it should. The Orange really playing a different level of basketball than the Golden Griffins right now.
And it hasn't always just been steals. Sometimes it's just been sloppy play, just throwing the ball away. They need to clean that up if they want a chance to get back into this game in the second half of play. Well, we will have a look around the Atlantic Coast Conference for men's and women's basketball when we come back. Syracuse up 53-34 at halftime. Early season women's basketball action. Syracuse hoping to remain perfect on the season. They're 2-0 so far, looking like they might cruise their way to a 3-0 perfect start. Riley Underwood in the JMA Wireless Dome alongside Drew Alba. We've talked about this game. Why don't we take a look at the other games going around in the ACC? Let's talk about the men's side too. Men's basketball going on around the conference. Syracuse not in action today. Duke and Malik Brown up 18 points at the half. And Army, what game stands out to you, Drew?
Florida right now getting upset by in-state
I was
Florida
thinking you were
State.
going to say that one.
My goodness, I mean, it's the most obvious one, but a 7-point lead at the half. Florida coming off of a national championship. Scenes over in Gainesville.
And the Gators looked so good in their first few games. The Seminoles really giving them a run for their in-state rival. Now, how about we take a look at the women's side of the games happening today in the ACC. Syracuse, of course, in action, but the other ones in action as well. Let's take a look at those if we get, we'll talk about a little bit more about the men's games. Let's talk about Florida a little bit. Florida State beating them right now. That's a big upset watch. I mean, Florida State's not ranked.
My goodness, especially after winning the whole thing. Florida State unranked. This could be a statement win for the ACC against the Florida team by consensus. Should be picked to go to the Elite Eight, Final Four, maybe even a national championship. That could all go downhill early on, and we're not even to Thanksgiving yet, Riley.
I guess Florida State's just an early season team in all sports. Remember when they upset Alabama earlier this football season? Looks like they might do the same against the Gators. Well, let's take a look at those women's basketball scores. All right, well, we will take a look at that.
No women's basketball.
No women's basketball. We've got enough women's basketball, Syracuse and Canisius. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll take a look at Drew's players to watch. The Syracuse Orange over halfway to 100, leading 53-34 at home versus Canisius. Welcome back into the JMA Wireless Dome. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba. Drew, we've seen the action so far. Syracuse, they have a couple players to watch. Who's a player that you really want to see keep up their performance?
How about Layla Felia? We talked about her earlier in the halftime show. She's been absolutely electric, right? 13 points against the Albany. Had just a pair. She's doing whatever she wants to. If head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack keeps her in the game, I want Layla Felia to keep being aggressive. And if she does, she might have a 20-piece on the way for Syracuse.
How about a player that maybe you expected to see a little more from in the first half that you haven't? Who do you want to see show up for the Orange in the second half?
I want to be knocking on the door from down under. Sophie Burrows, where are you? Just 2 points, one of 3 captains for Syracuse. She's been a player that really hasn't showed up in any of the first 3 contests. Does it finally happen in the second half? Potentially so against a Canisius squad that's given up on track for almost 100 points for Syracuse.
Burrows 2 for 15 combined in the first 2 games. Now just a bucket in this one. And she was a leading returning scorer for Syracuse last year. They're looking for her to step up. How about the keys for the game?
I want Syracuse to keep shooting the 3 ball. Why not? Let it fly from downtown. This Syracuse team needs to tighten up defensively as well against the Canisius squad. Really, their only offense, over 50%, has come from downtown. If Syracuse can limit that, they're well on their way to another victory in a 3-0 start.
Canisius, they're averaging 39 points per game on the year. They're just 5 points away from that today. What about Canisius? Is there anything they have to do?
3 words. limit the turnovers. My goodness, this team against Eastern Michigan and Michigan had over 40 turnovers, and here against Syracuse, well on their way to a number similar to that. Yes, Syracuse's defense has been hounding, but Canisius needs to slow the tempo down. I know they're in the dome, everything's moving a little bit faster, but the turnovers cannot persist if Canisius wants to get back into this ballgame.
Canisius they've been shooting the ball well, 5 for 8 from the 3. That's really been what's kept them in the ball
only
game,
thing.
if you can call it that they're still in the ball game. They're down 19, but the shooting has been a bright spot for the Golden Griffins.
Oh my goodness, yes. Deep, downtown, doesn't matter. It's lights out for Canisius. This Syracuse team is giving him open threes, and credit to the Golden Griffins. They're knocking them down from downtown. Syracuse 2 for 4 from three-point land as well. I wanted to see the Orange get more in the rhythm, starting to do that in the final 20 minutes. The Orange might be shooting a lot more trifectas as well.
One thing to mention, Canisius actually out-rebounding Syracuse in the first half. If you can believe it, Syracuse, I mean, they're a bigger team. Canisius just hustling a little more. I don't know if you can call it that. How is Canisius getting more boards than Syracuse?
Well, Syracuse isn't missing a lot of shots, Riley, and that's really the big thing. The Orange are shooting over 50% from the field. Yes, Canisius playing well down low in the paint, but at the end of the day, if you make lots of shots, there's not going to be a lot of rebounds to have, and both offenses shining bright in a dome here.
So Syracuse struggling early on in the three-point shooting this year. Do you look, when you have this lead, try to gun it a little more from downtown? Or are you just trying to pound the paint and score as many points inside as you can?
Just like the snow here in the 3-1-5, let it fall down, drain the threes, put them up, they'll fall. This Canisius team has let Syracuse shoot the open trifectas, and if the Orange continues to go hard, they're going to get a big win today.
All right, that's about all we have for the ACC Network halftime show. For Riley Underwood, Drew Alba, happy Veterans Day, everyone. We'll send it back to AJ Myers and Max Gifford. Syracuse stays unbeaten on the season, a 96-72 win over Canisius at home. Welcome into the studio, Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba. Drew, what'd you see from Syracuse in this game?
Offensively, everything was working for the Orange. The three-point shots, maybe not where they want to yet, but inside the paint, at the free throw line, Dominique Darius and Layla Filia do the bulk of the work, but also Uche Izoje finishes a perfect 6 for 6 with 13 points. This Syracuse team offensively looked great. Defensively, left a little bit to be desired, especially after the first 2 games.
Dominique Darius was perfect from the field last game versus Albany. Today, Uche Izoje, the perfect one from the field. If they can keep one player perfect from the field through this season, that's a pretty good look.
Yeah, that's a pretty good recipe for success. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Uche here, Dominique there, and Dominique Darius was the player for the Orange. Also finished with 4 steals. How about that?
That's the defense and the offense. It was cooking. You were talking about it the whole time. A career-high point production from Dominique Darius today. We're going to bring her into our post-game show. Dominique, first of all, congratulations on the win, and congratulations on your career high in points today. How were you seeing the hoop today?
I mean, for me, it's always aggression, defensively and offensively. Just come out from the jump. Every game matters to us, so I mean, for me, it's just like setting the tone for my teammates. I know they depend on me to lead them and help lead us to win, so I just try to be aggressive every possession.
Dominique, obviously offensively, great performance, but defensively, finished with a team-high 4 steals. How important is defense turning into offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything. Defense wins championships, and I try to preach that to our teammates. Obviously, Coach Jack brings that, but from a player, I always try to preach that to my teammates. Wasn't too happy with the final score of how many points they scored on us, so we have to go back to practice and really work on that. But ultimately, just set the tone defensively. Like I said, defensive win championships. Some nights my shot won't fall, some nights our team shot won't fall, but we can always really settle on defense. And if we take pride in that, I think we can win a lot of basketball games.
All right, thank you, Dominique. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Dominique Darius, a career high from all her 3 schools, 21 points. She did it on the defense with 4 steals. She also did it from the charity stripe, 6 for 6 on free throws. That's efficiency.
Yeah, how about it? She did it really wherever she wanted to. Dominique Darius, electrifying stuff. Obviously, the defense was the known coming into this, hounding steals off the gate or out of the gate for Syracuse, taking it all the way to the cup. But also in the half-court set, pulling it from deep, Dominique Darius could do whatever she wanted out on that court.
Back-to-back games being 1 for 1 from beyond the arc. And what better way to get your steal and defense numbers up than against the team that's worst in the NCAA in turnovers. Look at her stats, 7 for 11, 3 assists as well, and keeping the clean sheet clean. 0 fouls for number 20 today.
She's got to get herself a Slurpee at the end of this. 7 for 11 from the field goal line, over 20 points. Dominique Darius is going to be sleeping well tonight, Riley.
Are they paying you, Drew? Are they paying you?
Not yet, but I'm open to negotiation.
All right, good to know. Call his phone if you need a NIL deal. Well, after the break, we'll get you covered with all the highlights from the big-time win. Syracuse over Canisius. Stick with us. A 3-0 start for Syracuse. The Orange beat the Golden Griffins, who come over from Buffalo 96-72. Thanks for joining us in our Newhouse studios. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba. Drew, let's get right into the highlights in this one. And it really started off. Canisius, a 2-0 lead. You thought, whoa, is something going to happen here? Franco Wittenberg started it off, but after that, it was all Orange.
Didn't expect the early start. Had just 2 points against Eastern Michigan in the first quarter, but then Syracuse's defense started to come to play in the first quarter. Didn't do too much after that, though.
And it had a lot to do with the points off turnovers. Canisius turned the ball over 28 times. That's what they're known for at this point. They lead the NCAA in turnovers, and Syracuse was capitalizing all game long. Smooth pull-up J from Layla Filia.
She had that all night long inside the three-point line. She's automatic.
But then Shariah Gales back-to-back 3-point makes, nothing but net on both of them. She finished with 22 points. She led Canisius, but that was about all the Golden Griffins wrote. And then just getting behind the defense, that's just too easy.
Layla Filia does it again. This is a player that had a retina surgery under a year ago, and now she's hooping for the Orange.
Dominique Darius, pull-up J. She finished with 21 points. That's a career high. And then the three coming back. Irene Pineda makes a 3-point jumper. That cuts the lead to 21. And Layla Filia, another second chance jumper. She's just good in that mid-range area.
When in doubt, ring the Filia bell. She did it all for the Cuse offensively. And then the other end of things, Sophie Burrows gets in on the action.
Sophie Burrows, her first three-pointer of the season. She was due the leading returning scorer for the Orange, makes her first 3-point jumper. Syracuse wins 96-72. One thing that stands out, I know the turnover differential, very large. Canisius turns the ball over a lot, but also the rebounding numbers, even 30 apiece.
Yeah, both sides could have done better on the rebounding side, but what really stuck out to me, the field goal percentage for both teams over 50%. This is a couple of squads that didn't have that going for them going into game number 3 of the season. And then the Orange just 4 point shorts of the century mark offensively. My goodness, so close to that 100-point mark.
One thing I noticed, though, Syracuse limited its 3-point shots. They're bottom 10 in Division I this year, but then they shoot 3 for 9, 33% from beyond the arc. Maybe that'll get them back on track.
Needs something to get the ball moving, and this is a good start for the Orange.
Well, the leading scorer for Syracuse tonight was Layla Filia. Her career high in an orange uniform, and she was smooth all day long.
Finished with 22 points, 8 for 16 from the field, gets 6 points via the charity stripe. Layla Filia could do no wrong. This is a player that's come over from Texas but didn't play a lot with Texas. And early on with the Cuse, she's looked like the best player on the court, especially offensively, for a majority of offensive sets. She's so confident, loves to get to her spots. Look how confident she is in that pull-up off the elbow and gets out in transition. Layla Filia, the X factor for the Orange.
A 17-point-per-game score when she was at Michigan, transfers to Texas, and then has a detached retina injury, required a medical red shirt. People weren't sure how well she'd be seeing the floor, but if this game shows anything, it's pretty good. 50% from the field, and you said it, she knows her spot. She gets to that mid-range on the wing. She's pretty good.
Yeah, and in that picture, she's not wearing those goggles, but they're doing wonders for her. She can see out there on the court those nice orange goggles, shooting 50% from the field today. Layla Felia has been so huge for the Orange, and if Syracuse wants to get as far as they can into March Madness potentially, Layla Felia is going to be the straw that stirs the drink for Syracuse.
I mean, you're just talking about food and drinks. Are you hungry, Drew?
I'm thirsty.
All right. Well, someone that can maybe quench your thirst, if we're getting some paint points for the Orange Juicers, that's Uche Izoje. She was a menace all day in the paint. It's what she's been doing all season long. Just unstoppable down low.
Another double-digit point performance for Uche Izoje, her third straight for the Orange. She does it all in the paint, and Izoje finishes with 17 points, 7 for 8 from the field, and almost every one of her buckets, she makes it look too easy. Gets the rebound, spin, puts it up off the glass. Izoje listed as 6'3", but she plays a lot taller. Head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack says she can dunk, and maybe she'll do that throughout the season.
Yeah, I saw her dunk actually in the Japanese All-Star game. If you have a chance, go check out that clip. The bench was going crazy. 6 rebounds in this one. That matches her season total coming into today. And efficiency, that's the name of the game, and you can credit that to 3 years of professional experience in Japan. You'll smoothen out those sheets real quick.
Shooting over 70% from the field in the first trio of games for the Orange. Uche Izoje, an X factor for the Orange, offensively, defensively, cleaning up the glass. A great find for head coach Shaq's squad.
Now, Syracuse had a big win by a wide margin, but they would have rather had it by a much bigger margin because of all the defense that they've been playing so far. In their first game against Stony Brook, they allowed just 50 points. In the next game against Albany, they allowed 45. Today, versus a really struggling Canisius squad, they allowed 72 points, and the Golden Griffins shot really well from the field.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the Golden Griffins put up 72 points, 50% from three-point land, and Syracuse really gave it to them. It wasn't a lot of contested shots from behind the arc, kept Canisius in this one, especially when you compare it to UAlbany and Stony Brook, who from the field shot 41% UAlbany, 30% from Stony Brook. Today, over 50% from the field. Syracuse got to be better defensively, and that's not something I thought I was going to be saying after game number 3 here.
And if Tiffany Swafford goes into the locker room, she can be happy about the offense. I know allowing 96 points isn't ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but look what they did in the other games. 39.5 points per game. That was bottom 5 in Division I. They completely turned it around against Syracuse. Look at those shooting numbers. 17% from the field and the three-point line against Eastern Michigan. They really turned it up a notch against the Orange.
Against Eastern Michigan, Canisius had just 7 field goals. Today against the Orange, a completely different story. Once again, puts up 72 points. Canisius must not like the state of Michigan all too much, because against both Eastern Michigan and Michigan, offensively it wasn't there, but a little bit of a spark today for the Golden Griffins in the Dome.
Oh, with a big loss, it'll still be a long 2.5-hour drive back to Buffalo for Canisius. Well, after this break, we will be looking at the men's side of the ball, a new freshman phenom for the Orange, and a look around the hill. Syracuse gets a Veterans Day victory, 96-72, the Orange over the Golden Griffins of Canisius. Thanks for sticking with us. Riley Underwood alongside Drew Alba, and we talked about the women's team, but how about the men's team? They're off to a hot 2-0 start as well, and big thanks to Kyan Anthony, the new freshman in town. Cadence Kilhoff has the rundown.
Thanks, Riley. In 2003, Syracuse men's basketball won the national championship title with a team led by the legend himself, Carmelo Anthony. Now, 23 years later, his son Kyan is on the Orange's roster. The freshman earned his very first collegiate start last week after teammate J.J. Starling sat out with an injury. In the time Kyan has seen the court, he's done nothing but make an impact. Sound familiar? Right from the jump, Kyan has shown extreme similarities to that of his father. He can take the ball to the net himself or dish it to his center for a higher percentage shot. Either way, the court vision between the two is unmatched. Carmelo had Cayenne practicing the basics ever since he was a kid. Instead of crazy drills, he trained him to do what the Anthony bloodline knows best: take the ball to the rim or shoot a mid-range shot. Cayenne grew up learning an elite mindset. Even their backdoor cuts are the exact same. Carmelo wanted his son to learn the physicality of basketball. He didn't guard as heavy as he would an NBA opponent, but he wanted Cayenne to work for every point in practice. If Cayenne can score on his Hall of Fame dad, he sure can master the fadeaway jumper against his ACC opponents. What's been seen from Cayenne so far this season has translated on paper. In Carmelo and Cayenne's stats from their first 2 games as freshmen, there are some pretty impressive numbers. The duo each averaged over 15 points per game and over 3 assists. The only huge difference is rebounds, but Cayenne plays at the guard position and Carmelo played at forward. Although the season has just begun, the hints of the past when Syracuse was a top team in the nation is creeping through. As much as Cayenne Anthony is becoming his own player, the apple still doesn't fall too far from the tree. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Cadence. Well, Drew, I don't know if I can think of some better one-on-one matchups in the backyard than Cayenne Anthony versus Carmelo Anthony. I mean, those must be fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, pull-up mid-ranges galore. I'm sure Carmelo Anthony was giving Cayenne work since he was 12 years old, and now you see all of that development work out in the dome for the Orange. He's looked absolutely spectacular.
Cayenne Anthony starting off strong, 17 points per game through his first 2. Let's take a look around the hill at the other games and matchups happening with the other Orange squads. Syracuse cross country in action. Field hockey also with an NCAA tournament appearance. They face the Liberty Flames.
That's huge. Syracuse gets it done yet again. Got a little dicey down the stretch, but a couple of big victories. Picks one up against Wake Forest, and now Syracuse with another big matchup against Liberty to keep their season alive.
And let's take a look at the women's basketball upcoming schedule. They face a couple other opponents before they face some Power 5 competition. First, they're going to face Utah. That's their first Power 5 competition of the season, but they have a Wagner team to beat before that.
Yeah, Wagner is almost got to be a good start for that Utah game right after, because then you play a top 25 Michigan squad. Wagner almost is the last time for head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack to lock down the lineups before facing Utah and Michigan, and then a little bit easier of a matchup against Howard at the end of November.
A little comparison for you. Number 14 Michigan, who's coming up on the Orange's schedule, they faced Canisius in their first game of the season. They whooped them 100-40. They beat them by 60 points. That game was not fun for the Golden Griffins. And a little bit of scouting comparison, that's ought to be helpful.
This one was a little bit more fun for the Griffins. An upward trajectory for Canisius. You're right, though. Syracuse in like opponents, that's not a good sign against the top 15 Michigan squad in a couple of weeks.
Well, your next studio action, you won't have to wait that long because it's coming up. It's the next women's basketball game when Syracuse takes on Wagner at home at the Dome.
That will be a fun one. Once again, it's the last jump pad for head coach Felicia Leggett-Jack's squad. The Dome should yet again be a good atmosphere, and Syracuse with a chance to go 4-0.
That's on Sunday afternoon, so make sure you tune in to that one to see if the Orange can stay undefeated versus Wagner. Drew, I want to ask you, what are your final thoughts from this one? We talked about the defense. We talked about the players. Give me one thing that Syracuse fans can look forward to through the next games.
Offensively, that was a great game against Canisius after a couple of lackluster performances against UAlbany and Stony Brook. Defensively, not good enough. So you get one good, you get one bad, maybe a little Uno reverse card at the very end there. And against Game 4 against Wagner, I would love to see Syracuse both have the defense and the offense working before a couple of tough matchups against Utah and Michigan.
All right, well, Syracuse takes the win. Happy Veterans Day from all of our crew. Riley Underwood, Drew Alba, Syracuse takes the victory, 96-72.